Hi and welcome back to SGPL Library Kids. I'm Sarah, the children's librarian here at the library, and today we are reading our read aloud for the month. It's Breaking Stalin's Nose by Eugene Yelchin. So this book is all about communist Russia during Stalin's reign of terror, and today we are in the last few chapters, so we're going to wrap up the whole story. So if you haven't actually caught any of the episodes before, go back, watch along, and then continue on today. So we are going to start today with chapter 9. So, they are drumming and bugling and singing in the darkened hallway. A bright future is open to us. I know every word, but this time I don't sing as I watch the future pioneers march away, melting into the brilliant lights of the main hall. Alone now, I heave the banner over my shoulder and listen for the drum roll, my cue to follow. I have waited for this moment all my life. I wanted it so badly, and I would imagine myself marching into the main hall, beaming with pride, all eyes upon me. Then I'd see myself standing on a podium beneath the huge face of Stalin, eager for my turn to have the pioneer's scarf tied around my neck. How happy I felt when my dad told me he would tie my scarf. I would see it. He'd step up to me, lay the scarf around my shoulders, tie the knot as the rules say, the right tip extending lower than the left. Then he would call to me in his strong but kind voice, "Young pioneer," ready to fight for the cause of the Communist Party and Comrade Stalin. I set the banner down and lean it against the wall. I need my hands to dry my eyes, which are filling with tears. Right then, I hear the drum roll. It throbs and breaks off. It's my turn. I think of everybody in the main hall, listening to the drum roll again and again, eyeing the entrance through which I am to enter, wondering what's holding me up. I see their faces, the kids, the teachers, the janitor, the cleaning lady, Principal Sergeyevich, and next to the podium that of the State Security Senior Lieutenant, who has replaced my dad as guest of honor. My dad, who is in a prison. My dad, who said last night, "Tomorrow's a big day." He was right. It was a big day. It changed my life forever. I take a last look at the banner and turn away and dash out of the back door, down the stairs, and out of the school. I don't want to be a pioneer. As you can see, there's the banner, and that's all the people waiting. Chapter 30. This streetcar is like an ice cave. The frost inside the glass makes the windows glow white. I lean in and breathe on the glass. A small circle opens like a peephole in a prison cell's door. I see shiny black automobiles tearing through the snow towards a giant yellow building. Somewhere in that building, my dad is in prison. "Lubyanka Square," cries the conductor. The streetcar screeches to a stop, and the ice-crusted doors begin to part. I squeeze out and hop off and cross the square. And there you see him, going to the prison. "Step back," barks the guard, yanking the rifle off his shoulder. I keep going, so he aims the rifle at me. He looks like he'd shoot a kid, so I stop. "My dad is in prison here," I say. "I need to see him." Keeping me in his gun sights, the guard nods towards the edge of the building. "Around the corner," I say. He nods again. What I see when I round the corner, I don't expect. It's a line of people who must be waiting to see prisoners. The line runs along the building and along the street and down the next street and up the next one. And by the time I reach the end, I pass thousands of people waiting. And I get in line. There's everyone. After a while, a woman in front of me turns round. "You must be cold," she says. "Where are your warm things?" I shrug, and she stares at me for a moment, then digs into her bag and pulls out a woolen scarf. "I made this for my son," she says. "Wrap it around. I'll take it back when we get to the door." I wrap the scarf around my neck and ears, and she helps me with it. Her scarf is warm. "Both of your parents in there?" I shake my head. "My dad." "Where's your mom?" "She died in the hospital," I quickly explain. She looks at me sadly, and I say, "My dad didn't take me to the funeral. I still have to ask him why." "Funerals are sad," she says. "That's when I know why he didn't take me. He didn't want me to be sad." "What about relatives, uncles, aunts?" I think of Aunt Larissa and say no, don't have any. "Where do you live?" I shrug again. "Homeless," she says, and shakes her head. "Good thing you won't need a bed for the next 3 nights. That's how long it'll take to see your dad." I don't mind. I have nowhere else to go. She doesn't even ask if I'm hungry, just takes out something wrapped in a cloth and hands it to me. I unwrap it. a baked potato still hot. She stares at me while I eat it. "What's your name?" she says. "Sasha Zychek." "I tell you what, Sasha Zychek, now that my son's cot is empty, you're welcome to it if you want." I look up at her and see that she's smiling. Her smile is kind and natural. I should ask my dad, I think, but instead I say, "Sounds good. Thank you." She nods, and then she looks up at the low sky. It's snowing again. "What a mess we got ourselves into, huh, Zychek? Think we can sort it out one day?" "I don't know." "We will," she said, "but for now, we have a lot of waiting to do. So let's wait, Zychek." And we do. And there's the line of all the people waiting to go see their loved ones. Okay, so that's the end of the actual story, but there is an author's note, so I'm going to include that. It says, "An official from the Committee of State Security once called me in for an informal chat. A typical Soviet secret policeman, he locked the door of his office, put the key in his pocket, and invited me to discuss the political views of my co-workers. His goal was to recruit me as an informer. I had no idea what would happen to my family or me were I to refuse, but I suspected bad things. The state security terrified everyone, and I was afraid, but I could never become a snitch either. For 2 straight hours, I played dumb, evading questions and pretending I didn't understand him. He got bored and unlocked the door and finally let me go. I felt insulted and humiliated, but I was not harmed. Had that happened some years earlier when the ruthless dictator Joseph Stalin ruled Russia, I would not have gotten out of this office alive. During his reign from 1923 to 1953, Joseph Stalin ensured his absolute power by waging war against the Russian people. Stalin's state security executed, imprisoned, or exiled over 20 million people. Not a single person, be it a government official, war hero, worker, teacher, or homemaker, could be certain he or she would not be arrested. To arrest so many innocent people, crimes had to be invented. Stalin's propaganda machine deceived ordinary people into believing that countless spies and terrorists threatened their security. Tormented by fear, Soviet citizens clung to Stalin for guidance and protection, and soon his popularity reached cult status. The father of all Soviet children smiled and waved to his supporters during parades and celebrations, while at night, in his Kremlin office, he was signing orders for innocent people to be shot without trial. Paradoxically, when I was growing up in the 1960s Soviet Union, few people of my generation were aware of what had transpired during Stalin's reign. During his lifetime, the crimes had been carried out in absolute secrecy. After his death, the secrecy continued. All evidence was classified or destroyed. Older generations, either still terrified or responsible for crimes, kept silent. But Stalin could not simply disappear. His legacy endured in the Russian people. They had lived in fear for so long that fear had become an integral part of their very beings. Unchecked, fear was passed on from generation to generation. It has been passed on to me as well. This book is my attempt to expose and confront that fear. Like my main character, I wanted to be a young pioneer. My family shared a communal apartment, and my father was a devoted communist. And like my main character too, I had to make a choice. My choice was about whether to leave the country of my birth. I set this story in the past, but the main issue in it transcends time and place. To this day, there are places in the world where innocent people face persecution and death for making a choice about what they believe to be right. So thank you for listening to this story, and I hope it's given you something to think about. So thanks, and join us again for more stories soon. Thank you for joining us for Virtual Storytime this week. If you enjoyed this story, come and visit us in person at the library, give us a call or message us, and we will help you find more books, movies, video games, TV series, and so many more programs and services that we can offer you, all for the small price of a library card, which of course is free. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, SGPL Library Kids. So thank you once again, and bye-bye.